sunrise videos, with Christmas being 97 days away. Comedy of a countdown with 100 beer cans on the wall. Being able to DJ in jokes from 100 cans of beer on the wall to 99 days of Christmas videos at sunrise to a top 100 list in and around New Year's. These are the pre-roll, prequel, and pre-gaming of work videos before work. What's regular work? Regular work is where you grab a coffee using your coffee name, Lorenzo, and then your existing work of deeply understood credit knowledge on cue, on topic, with deeply understood. Deeply Duck Nine, the double entendre, backing it up, backing up the knowledge truck into the dumpster drop of your mind within deeply understood credit knowledge, where we're taking things that go from not exactly being able to process new information, not being able to process uh, at work, to pre-processing, pre-working the the information that we're going to be distributing at work, because within comedy pregame we're covering a slew of topics, backing up into the comedy of ED. We've seen those commercials where you pop a pill and within 15 minutes your penis problems are solved. That's ED, erectile dysfunction. What if instead of talking about speed reading or brain repair, we backed up our brain into doing what? Solving a problem of ED. Alina Longosa says, "Good morning." Good morning. How are you? Where pre gaming work entails what? Having the same script that you dropped off since talking about ED, which is a commercial, 15 minutes and penis problems are solved. What if your brain could solve those problems without a drug? Because of the following comedic bullet points. One, it's not your penis that's broken, should you choose to have a penis. It's the fact that your brain is getting so distracted that you end up with what? Trying to do two things at one time, therefore rendering the area below your waist not exactly hyper effective. Are you going to then try to pop a pill to solve those problems? Drugs cause more problems than you would think because of side effects. What if you could take a drug that would make you more effective at work? What if you could run your brain in a way that your penis or vagina would be more effective, more astute, more prepared? Because you would think that sexual content would enable you to make your penis slightly better. So, this is initially a topic from ED, erectile dysfunction, because it's chakra 7 to chakra 1, where we're getting better at brain management, not exactly becoming limitless, even though that book works every time, 90% of the time to 100% of the time, where our stomach is causing us problems, or I just can't get excited to go to work. If I'm not even excited to go to work, why do I want to participate in a pregame? Or I woke up and watched Larry Chang, and oh my gosh, can't stop, won't stop, Chang stop. BD has joined the chat, where if you're not excited enough that you're getting to go to work, you can see how the counterintuitive truth would be, what if there were a pre-game to work that would cause you to be more enthused and more energetic about erectile dysfunction, more excited and enthused about going to work, more excited to talk about the same topic you've talked about since sophomore year in college, deeply understood credit knowledge, making the things that you have to do turn into something that you want to do, putting a PQRST before what you have to do, putting a pre-roll before you are immersed in doing something. Being able to now pregame as if you are going out on Saturday night, where you pregame. Chiming in, I used to think work wasn't fun, but I wasn't making enough money. Now work is a blast. Good job mentally with your turnaround, and your script is not coincidentally my script, which is an Olive Garden turnaround. Olive Garden. It's a Italian restaurant that has delicious salad and breadsticks. Why does it need to be turned around? You don't have to wait for something to go bankrupt in order for you to want to turn it around, such as Duck 9. You don't have to wait for a bankruptcy that's going to never occur when you can turn around open source software. You can turn around this Larry Chang video series. You can turn around an Olive Garden that you enjoy eating at. The old way for doing turnarounds is you wait for something to go bankrupt, you buy it for pennies on the dollar out of bankruptcy, and then you spend kind of a lot of money to turn around an absolutely bankrupted business. Plot spoiler: the bankrupt business, there's skeletons hidden everywhere that are going to cause you to spend way more money than you initially planned on. This is the pitfalls of buying a business that's bankrupt. We're not here to talk about investing or buying or financing. That's not this channel. We're going to do all those things, not risking our own money. That's what makes this channel a tickle. That's what makes this channel way different, seemingly out of left field, which is this street smart thing, which is before we even paint the dumpster, think graffiti artist, but instead of writing secret coded messages in black spray paint, we're doing the graffiti art of restoring the dumpster or the parking lot back to its original manufacturer's newness. So, before we even fix the dumpster, we can just pick up a couple pieces of trash in the parking lot. What we're doing is weeding the parking lot of not necessarily weeds, because that involves a tool. We're just trying to clean the trash of the parking lot prior to cleaning up the trash that is between our ears. So what we're in essence doing is having the mental discipline to get slightly more improved with allocating 4, 5, 7 minutes, 3 minutes per week. This is kind of like 7 minute abs. Morning. This is kind of like 7 minute abs, but it's 7 minutes per day of doing abdominal work. Is this going to be 5 minutes a day or 4 minutes a week picking up trash? Maybe. Is this also going to be 3 or 8 minutes a month focusing on erectile dysfunction or lady boner endometriosis, where we might think, hey, our vagina is fine, it's just got cobwebs growing and we haven't used our vagina in months. Why is that? It's because our phone's not so smart, it's really just breaking your brain via a dance party. Sarah Park, Lisa Kim, getting the content up and going from muted to no longer muted, where fixing the last erection difficulty, ED, with pre-gaming your date with date like previews. So most people, when they're stepping towards a new destiny, Joe Dispenza chapters 9 through 14, knowledge activation intended, they they not haphazardly, but non sequiturly will show up 5 to 15 minutes late. For example, Lisa Kim Sarah Park on a date showing up 20 to 30 minutes late by default. And this goes to solving literally everything in the universe. Okay, that was over the top. Let's do this because we are solving literally every problem. Let's just bullet point some comedic things for ourselves before work. Wrangling a woman to be, or an Asian man, to be on time for something is so difficult. Why? Because of the mathematical calculations of, oh, I got to be at work at 8:45. Right now it's 7:15. I can hit the snooze button until whenever. So instead of trying to get to work on time, the genius thing is to do something across the street from work 1 hour prior. What we're in essence solving is 600,000 problems. And I know I sound like a crazy person when I'm saying pick up trash in a parking lot or show up to work 1 hour early, because why would you? Normal people, here it is. Normal people don't do these things. And normal people also don't pregame work with comedy of work before this. Hey, Larry, you've been hilarious before this video. It's just getting going. Make me laugh, Larry Chang. Make me laugh. Okay. When we do what normal people do, what kind of results do we get? Those results are 50-50 at best. Here's an example of something funny that is also something useful, which is internships. Morning, hero. How are you? I'm good. What about you? Where an internship is actually now advanced and difficult to get. So, what were your thoughts when I said the word internship? Did you think to yourself, oh, I don't need an internship? Or, OMG, this is going to be an unpaid internship? Or, internship? Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to what Larry Chang might say, because internships is now an advanced topic. Why? Because internships are not, one, unpaid internships. Two, they're also not very easy to get. this is also an entry into a secret club where the old protocol was go be a slave, aka an intern, unpaid, and that slavery would maybe yield a high paying job as your street smart way to get your foot in the door. The problem with that is someone's going to need to train you, which is in and of itself an expense. Where what if we not only worked for free, but worked not free at all, but for an incredibly high price? But during this high price that we're charging for our own internship, aka getting paid for an internship, what if we made 5x the money that we were getting paid? Let me repeat the math on this because most people are thinking $0 paid and then $0 produced. They leave off the $0 produced part because people are so concerned about their own problems that they don't see that a company, they're willing to pay you 600K per year if you can bring in 4x your value. This is the math that everybody misses within internships because initially it isn't 600K. Initially it's 6K or $600. But a lot of people kind of want to skip over the $800 portion of priming the pump, meaning they just want the sexy thing that they see on social media where they're working at some FANG company in Silicon Valley and they're saying, why is this person getting a middle six-figure job versus, hey, what did they initially have to do? Because the secret that I know that very few people actually do know is that interns, they do all the work in Silicon Valley. Let me repeat that joke because one, it's hilarious. Two, it's super counterintuitive. Three, it's super funny because it's true. This is one of those jokes that sounds like there's no way that can be true. And that fundamental truth is that interns in Silicon Valley, now that all the interns have gone home, all the executives are in cruise control from now until February. Why? Because it's Q4 and all the interns are back at school. Interns, they do all the work of Silicon Valley tech startups. This is why you can't be hired at $0 because the training, when you distract an executive needing to train you, is incredibly high. So you think that, oh, well, if I just took an unpaid internship, that would solve their problems. You're actually causing problems, and there's also risk for what if you're one of those people that can't read 1.0 book per year? Because some people during job interviews, they can't read 10 pages in a row and they can't read 10 pages in 20 minutes. They can't read 10 pages if you just watch them and ask them, will you read 10 pages? They literally just stop reading or they'll implode. So when you're trying to get an internship for $0, there's risk of execution. There's risk of non-performance. There's risk of you can't learn. There's risk of you can't read. There's risk of you can't show up on time. There are so many formats of risk. This is how to mitigate the risk while jettisoning yourself from wherever you're at to a way, way, way better job, which is the pop up internship concept, the external API concept, which is what? Oh, so cute. Brady, you can't bark, buddy. Brady, you can't bark. You want to say hi? Can we say hi? We'll say hi later. What's her name? What's her name?
Yuki.
Yuki. We'll say hi later. Brady, 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 you can't bark. When have you ever barked at a dog? Have you ever heard of bark at a dog? There's no barking. Where we're doing an external API, kind of like Brady trying to run an external API into a company. So, Brady, there's no barking no matter how cute she is. Okay? You horny little bastard. You horny little bastard. Stay. External API, where it's an internship that you manufacture for yourself. External API, it's unearthing a company's problem from outside of the company. Am I explaining what a consultant does? Sort of. A rainmaking consultant. So, what you're doing with an internship is you're sniffing out a future where you're basically pre-gaming their future constructive projects for them, which is why you can do a pop-up internship where it's not a official internship that they are going to be having a hiring requisition that spells out this is what we're looking for, this is what we're trying to solve. Brady, Brady, there's no barking ever. There's no barking ever, buddy. You'd think that companies would be super organized and be able to write out a spec, a set of specs that we're hiring for this type of person using these prerequisites. That's not how companies work. Stuff is changing right now so fast that that the HR person is not going to be able to be well prepped where they're saying, yeah, this is the kind of team that we're going to need to hire. This is most people's this is most people's work environment. Before work, this is most people's work environment. It's this. They don't know what happened to them this past year, and they definitively don't know where their company's going. And they definitely don't have people working on proactive projects because they're trying to lay off half the people. Her name's Yuki. Pretty.
She's not very friendly with first time meetings. And she was a rescue and she got attacked by other dogs.
Brady, wag your tail. Oh, look, her tail's wagging. You can attack him. Oh, you're so nice. Okay, Brady, you're done. Let her have space. Don't pee here. Brady,
What's her name?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Yeah.
Look, Yuki likes you.
There you
Brady, no barking. Come here. Come on, you can attack him. You can attack him.
go. No.
Okay, Brady, stay. Very cute. Okay, Brady, come here. Come here. Come here. Good boy. Brady, you can say hi again later. Where the company's not so well organized that they're able to define problems and then hire people to solve those problems. So that's where a speculative internship comes up. That's where a a outside of the company line of prep helps us get future problems solved. Let's work in flow and get away from internships for a moment and use AI to say, how would a company solve future problems? You're welcome. Let's also get away from that explosion of super basic work things where if you want to rewatch that stuff, you can engineer your own 5 internship sequence. And let's say you don't think you need 5 internships in a row. That's okay because I have no desire to sell you 5 internships. Next topic, which is similar and also entrepreneurial, which is hashtag 55 days of OpenAI at SF Super Bowl. You see, the Super Bowl is a problem that Silicon Valley doesn't realize that it has. This is just like the internship. This is just like everything in the world where I'm asking you, did you remember that the Super Bowl is 3 miles from your Silicon Valley office? Wow, really? Yeah, I saw some stuff. Do they know who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl yet? Or some horrendously mediocre question? Where February 8th is 2026. We're currently in October 22. That gap between February 8th and October 22 is solved with a hashtag that very few people know about. And this is why the number of jokes per hour is right around 4. We're at the 30-minute mark. There are about to be 6 jokes that are the best kind of jokes, which is 1, funny, 2, profitable, 3, hilarious, 4, so funny that you're going to say, wait a minute, is that even real? That's amazing. It's hashtag 55 days of OpenAI at SF Christmas, SF Super Bowl, SF Christmas. Part of the Super Bowl days are Christmas days. Why? Why is this funny on 15 levels? 1, the NFL season really doesn't start until Thanksgiving. 2, 55 days of OpenAI at SF Super Bowl is amazing because last year, last year, it was the 12 days of OpenAI. Notice the joke of the 12 days of OpenAI versus the 55 days of OpenAI. Because when Jewish people host a Christmas themed party, it's sometimes looking like Jewish people organized that Christmas party. And I like parties, but I also like making parties slightly better. That's why it's not just the 12 days of Christmas, it's the 55 days of OpenAI at SF Super Bowl. Day number 6 of the 55 days of OpenAI at SF Super Bowl has one day that should be able to make you enough money to go to the Super Bowl, which is SantaCon on December 6th. So day 1 of the 55 days of OpenAI at SF Super Bowl is December 1. Bullet point number 4 of wait a minute. So why is SantaCon important, and how does SantaCon at Irvine Spectrum Mall connect to Santa Clara, California, which is where the Super Bowl is? It's because you can do a SantaCon in whatever shopping mall that's going to be all decked out in Christmas decorations. Why? Because retailers, they really like Christmas because 1/4 to 1/3 of their annual sales comes around Christmas time. What's SantaCon? SantaCon is where you wear a Santa costume or a Santa's helper costume, and then you party and start drinking at 9 a.m. and you don't stop drinking until you fall down or it's December 7 at 1 a.m. SantaCon, it's a convention of Santas. It not necessarily launches Christmas parties, but it's definitely a flagship event. Is Christmas Lot a party that's going to take place on December 19th? Yes, that's day 19 of the 55 days of OpenAI at SF Super Bowl. Because day number 69 of the 55 days of OpenAI at SF Christmas, that's going to be February 8th. It's 31, 31, and 8. And what people can benefit from is that there's a week of parties before February 8th, starting with Monday on Radio Row. It's a row of radio that's all sports radio. That's going to be taking place on February 2nd. And does Radio Row have a launch party that is January 30th? It needs a launch party because Monday is a day similar to this Monday at Sunrise Video. Is the sunrise going to have a clear glow? No, because there's a little bit of a marine layer. But what you can do if you're entrepreneurial is create your own Radio Row internship. So a Radio Row internship would be a pop-up where you spend under 5 hours or one weekend, like you're doing a hackathon, in solving the problem of Radio Row doesn't have a launch party. Radio Row doesn't have a pregame. It's just set up at Santa Clara Convention Center, and they just open, and every Radio Row is like last year's Radio Row. But this year's Radio Row can be made better. Why? Because because you'll be prepared. Are you guys leaving?
Yeah.
Oh, bye. 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 Yuki, can I pet you? Can I pet you?
She
Can I
likes
pet you?
people.
Hi. Brady. Brady, be nice. Brady, sit. No barking. Look at how nice she is. She a mini?
No, she's Corgi Jindo mix. She's a rescue dog from
Oh.
Korea. Go like this to her ears. She feels
Oh.
like bunny.
Oh, it does feel like a bunny. I almost slobbered on you. You're so nice. You do feel like a bunny.
Yeah.
You're so nice. Brady, you made a friend. Bye. Bye. Yuki's so cute. Yuki's so cute. No wonder you're barking. So Radio Row's not going to just write up a requisition for we need 7 interns or 2 interns. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to be doing all the things that they did last year to get Radio Row up and going. But it's not a build it and they will come. It's I came last year and I saw this as a problem. That's why I solved this problem. Let me repeat that because that is also internships. That is also how to get an obnoxiously high paying job that isn't even listed. This is what everybody's experiencing right now. All the crappy employees, they got fired, and the company, it got better. And is this why the company unloaded? Yes, because the whole DEI, defensively excellent infielder, is mitigated. What's something that we're doing? We're solving a future problem. We're solving a present problem. We don't know if we're going to get paid after we solve this problem. We don't. Sometimes after we solve the problem, the company could be a dick and be like, hey, sucks to be you. Thanks for solving our problem. Or my favorite, which is actually okay, which is we didn't have that problem. They had that problem. So now that you've solved the problem, we don't know what you did because did you even do any work? It's called feigning being a pansexual neurodivergent. And that's okay. Why? Because you counterintuitively, you want people to try to fuck you out of money. Because when you get fucked out of money, there's going to be someone else that's going to be like, wow, you're okay with getting screwed? You must be super talented. The people who are most angry at getting screwed are poor people that are not very good at what they do. Rich people who are great at what they do, they'll just laugh. Why? Because when you're screwing a person out of money, all you're doing is suppressing monetary energy. This also applies to dating. How? Sometimes when I show up on a date, it'll be going great. And then I'll say something like, oh, yeah, I really enjoy eating food and then making the food. And then she'll say, if I'm dating a woman, she'll say, you know, I'm not going to fuck you tonight. And I'm like, where'd that come from? That's suppression. That's money where they're saying, oh, I'm not going to pay you. And you're like, okay, well, you suppressing that monetary energy allows for the money to pop later. Does this tie into an earlier callback to erectile dysfunction? Yes, because if you're on a date worrying, oh my God, she's gonna pull my pants down, and I hope that it the flag goes all the way up the flagpole. You could think that, or instead, you can think, I hope that I don't have a giant boner during dinner that hits the table, and then she's going to realize that her her plunging neckline is causing chemical things to flow. That's internship, where it's not blood flowing, it's money flowing. It's internship. It's energy that used to be stuck getting unstuck, where the energy of the energy of people don't know what they can pay you. And it turns out most companies have super similar, if not exactly similar, problems. So, consulting as a start, consulting as initially how the ball gets rolling. It's 5 legendary internships in a row. 5 legendary internships in a row. Let's start bullet pointing pre-gaming work with having another job at work, which is the job that you're not getting paid for. This is extra credit work. Is this doing a pop up internship during your internship? Yes. This is kind of like where your side chick is your primary chick because you're the tennis instructor where you're role playing. Yeah, I'm a beta provider, but I also play tennis and I'm going to teach you tennis where you play and learn tennis sans panties. So you're your own you're your own tennis pro. You're your own trainer. So how does this apply to work? Is you have an internship that's unpaid or whatever, and you're also the other intern because you're not sitting at your internship going, man, my internship sucks because I suck and I'm not getting paid. I'm going to go interview at another company. That's what everybody thinks. We're not doing that. We're doing we're doing Larry Chang, you're dating Larry Chang, and Larry Chang Tennis Pro, where you're going to be cheating on me with who? With me. That's what makes this joke infinitely hilarious because my future wife, she's going to also be my side piece. Therefore, it keeps the relationship fresh. Is this role playing? That would be number two of how to get a legendary internship that's a pop up is role playing. The role that we're playing is we're VP of product for a CEO who doesn't know yet who we are. What's VP of product? We're doing product management work and we're reading right out of the book of Dan Olson. And then we're mapping onto a piece of paper a treasure map that's a product roadmap. Are we doing Scrum? Kind of. Are we doing Tony Olwick, what customers want? Yes. Why? Because most companies, they never think about what their customer wants. That's Tony Olwick. That's page 63 of Dan Olson's book, Product Management Playbook. What we're doing for the CEO, who we know by reputation and they don't know who we are, is we're we're their side piece. We're their side project manager. We're their side VP of product. We're their customer service, customer exploratory, customer development 4 steps to the epiphany. Because I can guarantee that the CEO and the VP of product, they haven't memorized Dan Olson product manager playbook. They haven't memorized Steve Blank, 4 steps to the epiphany. Tony from LC Signs. Tony from Larry Chang Signs. Would you like a sign like this made? Well, you can sell at your name, for example, Yusuf at LC Signs. You could just sell them at Yusuf at LC Signs because Yusuf knows about signs that have a flower next to it. Who knows? And then who's doing your fulfillment? You are. Do you see how easy internships are where you're saying Tony LC Signs? That's Tony selling on social media. That's another internship. That's another internship. That's another internship where what you're doing is you're combining and you're being playful. And do you see how we just came up with a slightly better application to what you could be doing next Monday, which is Monday at Radio Row. What most people are going to do is they're going to intellectually think more and more about, okay, we'll do Radio Row. Okay, we'll do somebody will do SantaCon. And they'll just be like, I want to come up with my own idea. And then that's when it goes completely off the rails, which is why the CEO, he's about to get fired because you could have just read Dan Olson's book and Steve Blank's book with instead of hiring me for 600K. Let me repeat that joke because it's hilarious every time. We'll be at a coffee or a meeting, and then people will be like, okay, what do we pay you? What you pay me is middle 8 figures. No, 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 no. We're not paying that much money. Where they're in scarcity mindset because they're thinking they're not going to make low 9 figures and pay me middle 8 figures. They just see you don't deserve $35,000 an hour. That's why I don't talk about my hourly rate. I just talk in terms of money saved and then money you pay me. And that's why if you want to try to screw me after I make you or save you or make you a ton of money, I'll just laugh and giggle and say, I'm probably going to make more because you're screwing me because it's fucking energy. I'm going to say that joke 7 more times because it's hilarious. Because energy from fucking or energy from being suppressed at a higher level of screwing, not at the lower levels of pointing a gun at somebody and saying, give me $17, which is kind of how my fellow white and black people do it. Ever heard of a Chinese person going away for armed robbery or sticking up a 7-Eleven? Why do we want to rob a 7-Eleven when we can just triple 7-Eleven? Wait, did I say triple 7-Eleven? What I really meant was 12x a 7-Eleven. Web 12. Web 12. Web 12. Web 12. Web 12. Web 12. What's Web 12? It's Web 1, Web 2. Together. Together it's not robbing a 7-Eleven. It's seeing Bumble and saying, what if we could make Bumble turn into a unicorn again? because it went from billions and billions of dollars in market cap to under $1 billion. Internships, pre-gaming work with an internship related to work, dare I say, adjacent to work, which is Mr. Dude chiming in with hello. Carlos Coelho talking about can't stop, won't stop, Chang stop. The dumpster. There is no restaurant that's going to write up a job request that says, clean my butthole, clean my restaurant's dirtiest part, which is the dumpster. Restaurants are not going to do that. Why? Uh, they're just not. They're just too embarrassed. It's like a girl with like a dirty vajayjay. She's not going to say, hey, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Some of my ovarian wall is growing outside of my wall, and now I'm messed up. There's no job requisition for this. This is what makes these jokes funny, is that I went ahead and also studied how vagina works. Why? Because I happen to like putty. Healthy, healthy, healthy pussy. That's helping females older than 22, younger than 23, with their money situation. Because there's nothing worse than hanging out with a female and seeing the fact that she owes low five figures on her credit card slash student loans. That's deeply understood credit knowledge, because what if you owed zero money? What if you realized, which is true, that it doesn't take money to make money? You're just 5 internships away from having $1 million. Entry level jobs. Why are they so hard to get? Because everyone's problems became complicated. No one's got time or delayed gratification to train an intern, even if they're not getting paid any money, because all of business's problems, they're advanced. That's why some people have 3 middle 6 figure jobs. Have you heard of this? Where there are dudes out there who have 2, 3, or 4 jobs that are at FANG startups, FANG companies, Facebook, LinkedIn, Netflix, Google, Alphabet, Amazon, FANG, FAAANG. I like to refer to it as dang companies. Duck9, Amazon, Anthropic, Netflix, dang companies. No one's got entry level problems. Everyone's problems right now, they're super advanced. Who's going to solve these advanced problems? Well, people that are good at using AI. How can you tell if a person's going to be good at using AI? You give them a reading test, because if they can't read 1.0 book per year, that's immediately a person that you're going to be crossing off the list. What if they could read 1 book per week? That's a person who's going to be infinitely valuable to a company. Why? Because everything is changing super fast. Look at how few a number of people are gleaning the insights in what I believe to be the most valuable content being created right now on YouTube by far. Look at how large of a lead you have. This is like buying Bitcoin for only 600K per Bitcoin. Remember, like you could have bought it back when it was under 600K per Bitcoin. You could have. You could have. You could have bought it when it was under $6,000. But right now it's under 600K per Bitcoin, and maybe you'll be a buyer when it's at 6 million per Bitcoin. I don't care. I don't care. I think it's just funny that you think it's a scam in the same way that a lot of people think that Larry Chang is a scam. Hmm. Hmm. The parallels are hilarious, which is entry level problems, they don't exist, meaning solving entry level problems that nobody has does not require hiring an entry level person. What this hall takes is hiring a pretty advanced person who is able to process information quickly in an OODA loop. Observe, orient, oriental, decide, action. You see, naval warfare used to be run by cool people who were quarterbacks and cowboys. Now the entire Navy is run by nuclear engineers who are nerdy AF, who are student athletes. This is why student athletics plays such a big role in service academies, because the person kicking your ass, they're actually smarter than you and better at sports. Am I saying go back and relearn soccer? Sure, on weekends. But what we're going to need to do is be slightly more sophisticated in how we're competitive in getting our internship game going. It doesn't matter if you're 30 years old. It doesn't matter if you're 32 years old like me, which is everybody can go from intern to board of director pretty quickly. In fact, the dirty secret that isn't a little secret in Silicon Valley is that interns, you got to be nice to all of them, because a few of them, they're going to end up being our boss. Let me repeat that joke because it's so true. In Silicon Valley, you got to be nice to interns. You got to find interns and buy them food and be nice to them by bribing them. Why? Because we're all going to end up working for a person who's an intern right now. Why? Joke number 17 or number 2, depending on what you think is funny. Interns, they do all the work of Silicon Valley. If you're able to not only do all the work, but also do the octogenarian work, which is pick up trash and fix stuff that's going on in the real world, like with the dumpster, that tier 3 college called Brown University or Princeton or Stanford, my safety school, that's that person becoming unstoppable. Why? Because now they've got exactly. They didn't even go to Drexel. He didn't even go to Drexel. He went adjacent and didn't graduate. Where we're solving advanced problems by speed learning. Chapter 14, Jim Quick, how to read chapter 4, which is maybe you don't know how to read super well. And if maybe my tonality offends you, but what about the fact that you read fewer than 12 books last year? Are we getting our first faux internship up and going by doing PR for Radio Row? Yes, that's the call to action. We're done with doing the dumpster. Let's do either SantaCon on day 6 or day 64 of the 55 days of OpenAI at SF Super Bowl and launching Radio Row at Santa Clara Convention Center. Pick one of those three. Let's actually execute something. I'm Larry Chang. Wednesdays and Mondays, I drop new episodes on my channel, What They Don't